Good evening, my weary friend. Wherever you are right now, curled under a blanket that still holds the faint warmth of your body, or stretched out on a couch that sighs softly as you settle, I'm so glad you're here. Tonight we're slipping far away from the electric buzz of screens and the dull ache behind your eyes. We're going somewhere the rain itself feels like velvet fingers brushing your thoughts quiet. Celtic roundhouses glow softly in evening rain, their thick, thatched roofs shimmering with a honeyed light that trembles each time a droplet kisses the straw. The air is heavy with wet peat and wood smoke, so rich you can almost taste it on the back of your tongue. You probably won't survive this one conscious. It's treacherously soothing. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and let me know how your day has truly been, your worries, your exhaustion, or even a tiny joy that made you smile. I'm here to truly listen and offer the most sincere, heartfelt advice I can. Now turn off the lights. Take a deep, slow breath. Feel the cool air slide in through your nose. Rest for a moment in your chest, then drift out softer than it came. Let your tiredness melt away and gently close your eyes. Let's drift together into tonight's dreamlike lands. And tomorrow morning, if you still remember, send me a message and tell me what you dreamed. You trudge up the final rise, each bootfall a slow, deliberate squelch into the soaked turf that gives like memory foam beneath you. Rain lands on your cheeks in the gentlest possible taps. Tap, 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 like someone counting heartbeats they want to borrow. The mist parts with the lazy slowness of silk curtains, and there they are, roundhouses, low and perfect, their thatch so thick it drinks every drop and glows from within, each roof a small breathing lantern. Smoke rises in slow-motion ribbons, curling, uncurling, tasting the rain before it dissolves. You can hear the droplets individually now, plink, plink, on a bronze cauldron left outside, a tiny metallic lullaby. Closer, and the scent finds you first. Peat smoke so deep and earthy, it feels like inhaling the planet's own exhale, threaded with the sweet, almost bread-like perfume of roasting barley drifting from somewhere inside. Your ears catch the low, constant hush of rain on thatch. Shh, like a mother rocking a cradle that happens to be the entire night sky. Underneath that, the soft creak of hazel wands flexing in the walls every time the wind leans in, a sound like old bones settling deeper into a warm bed. You reach the doorway. The lintel is blackened oak, smooth and cool when your fingertips brush it. You duck, slowly, luxuriously, and the moment you cross the threshold, the temperature blooms around you. Heat slides over your wet skin like warm water slides over you in a bath you didn't know you were dying for. Your cloak begins to steam with the softest hiss, tiny curls of vapor rising like friendly ghosts. The fire crackles once, a low, intimate pop that feels like it's speaking directly to your sternum. Each collapsing log sighs, releasing a faint puff of resinous pine that tickles the back of your throat with Christmas you never had. Your ears adjust, and suddenly the roundhouse is full of the quietest symphony. The slow drip of rain finding its way down a single straw and falling, plink, into a clay bowl someone placed for exactly that purpose. The gentle rustle of drying herbs brushing one another overhead, lavender, wood evans, apple mint, releasing microscopic clouds of scent every time the warm updraft kisses them. The soft scrape of a wooden ladle against an iron pot somewhere behind you, slow and rhythmic, like a heartbeat made of soup. The floor beneath your feet is packed earth covered in fresh rushes that give off a green, sun-warmed smell even though the sun set hours ago. Every step releases a faint crush of meadowsweet and the tiniest crunch, like walking on nature's bubble wrap. Someone shifts on a bench, creak, and the sound is so close, so human, it feels like permission to exist. You stand there dripping, steaming, breathing in lungfuls of smoke and honey and safety, and the day you carried here simply dissolves. Your shoulders drop with an audible sigh you didn't know you were holding. The rain on the roof is no longer individual drops, but one endless downy shh that strokes your thoughts until they lie down and stop struggling. And still, no one speaks. They simply make room, the way fire makes room for another log, the way night makes room for dreams. You are home, and the house itself is breathing with you. You let the low doorway take you fully now, bending your spine until the cool, rain-slick lintel brushes the nape of your neck like a gentle hand guiding you inside. The moment your head clears the threshold, the world changes pitch. Outside, the rain was 1,000 separate fingers tapping your skin. Inside, it becomes one long, continuous exhale across the thatch. Like the house itself is hushing the storm for you. The warmth is immediate and shameless. It slides over your wet cheeks, creeps under the collar of your cloak, and wraps around your ribs so completely that you feel your heart beat slow to match the lazy pulse of the fire. Your cloak is heavy with water, and when you move, it makes the softest sloshing sound, like a water skin being cradled. Steam begins to rise from the wool in delicate spirals that catch the firelight and glow amber for a heartbeat before vanishing. You smell yourself in that steam. Rain, mud, the faint iron of travel, mixing with the deeper perfume of the house. Peat so old it tastes of forgotten winters. Crushed apple mint from the herbs overhead, and something darker, sweeter, roasted barley perhaps, or honey left too close to the flames. The floor gives beneath your weight with a cushioned sigh, rushes compressing and releasing their green, sun-drunk scent in slow motion. Each footstep is a tiny secret crunch, like walking across the softest granola in the universe. You feel it through the soles of your boots, up into your ankles, and it loosens something in your knees you didn't know was clenched. The fire is only a few paces ahead, yet the journey there feels ceremonial. Heat rolls out to meet you in lazy waves. You can almost see them, shimmering the way hot tarmac shimmers on a summer road. When you reach the edge of the stone curb that circles the hearth, you stop, because stopping feels like the most natural thing in the world. Flames lick upward in slow motion, orange turning to gold, turning to the softest crimson at the edges. Every so often a pocket of resin in the pine logs pops, tk, and a cluster of sparks rises like fireflies too tired to fly far. They drift, blink out, and the faint smell of scorched cedar drifts across your tongue. Someone has banked the fire with thick bricks of peat. They glow dark red from within, exhaling a smoke so velvety that it feels like inhaling a blanket. The smoke doesn't sting your eyes. It caresses them, makes them heavier. You blink slowly, and the lids take their time coming back up. The air itself tastes sweet here. There's honey somewhere, definitely honey, and warm grain, and the ghost of fermented apples. Your mouth waters without permission, a soft, involuntary click as your tongue touches the roof of your mouth. A bench creaks, slow, deliberate, welcoming. You don't see who made the sound, only the space that opens beside a broad shoulder wrapped in undyed wool. You sink down, and the oak beneath you is polished to satin by generations of bodies. It receives you like it's been waiting. The moment your weight settles, the bench gives the tiniest groan of contentment. Like it's glad to be useful again. Warmth seeps up through your thighs, through the soaked layers of your clothing, until you feel your hip bones soften against the wood. Your cloak is still dripping. You can hear it. Plip, plip, plip. Tiny silver coins falling into the rushes. Each drop lands with a muted hush, swallowed instantly by the dry fragrance of meadowsweet and crushed mint. Someone, maybe the same shoulder beside you, reaches over without looking and lifts the sodden edge of your cloak, spreading it nearer the fire so the steam rises in thicker curls. The gesture is so casual, so wordless, it feels like being tucked in by the universe itself. You let your head fall back against the wall. The daub is cool and smooth, almost silky from years of smoke and gentle touching. It cradles the base of your skull perfectly, as though the house measured you in a dream long ago and built this exact spot for you. The thatch above is a dark, breathing sky of its own. Every so often, a stray droplet finds a gap and falls, tink, into a bowl placed precisely beneath. The sound is soft, metallic, regular, like a clock made of patience. Your eyelids are heavier now. The fire settles into a steady, drowsy conversation with itself. Crackle, hiss, soft collapse. Each sound is rounded at the edges, as though the flames are too polite to startle you. The peat smoke coils around your face, warm and fragrant, and you breathe it in because refusing feels impossible. It tastes of earth and distant bonfires and childhood nights you can't quite remember, but somehow recognize. You are no longer sure where your body ends and the warmth begins. The bench holds you. The wall cradles you. The fire warms the soles of your boots until the leather sighs and softens. Even the rain, still whispering its endless lullaby on the roof, feels like it's speaking directly to the marrow of your bones. Stay, stay, stay. The fire settles into a low, steady breathing of its own, soft inhale of flame, softer exhale of smoke, and in that rhythm you become aware of the others. They have been there all along, of course, but only now does the warmth finish peeling the day from your skin and let your eyes truly open. The roundhouse is larger inside than it has any right to be. the cone of thatch soaring up into fragrant darkness, yet every face is close enough that you can feel the heat they carry on their cheeks. No one stares. They simply notice you the way the fire notices a fresh log, quietly, with interest, with room already made. A woman to your left shifts her knee. The wool of her skirt brushes your wrist with the softness of thistledown. The contact is fleeting, almost accidental, but it lands like permission. You let your own hands rest, palms up, on your thighs, and the air itself seems to settle over them like a cat choosing a lap. Across the hearth, an older man with a beard the color of autumn rowans lifts one eyebrow, barely a twitch, and the skin around his eyes creases in what might be a smile if smiles needed words. He is carving something small, a sliver of bone or antler, and the faint scrape of bronze blade against it is so gentle it feels like someone stroking the inside of your ear. Skirt, pause. Skirt, pause. Skirt, pause. Each stroke is slow enough that you can almost taste the patience in it. A younger woman sits cross-legged on the rushes near the fire, rocking slightly as she stirs a small iron pot suspended on a chain. The chain gives the tiniest tink, tink, tink with every sway, a sound so delicate it could be the house's heartbeat made audible. Whatever is in the pot smells of honey and oats and something darker, ale maybe, or blackberries left to ferment in the rafters last summer. Steam rises in slow, fragrant ribbons that curl around her face and catch the firelight like golden cobwebs. She doesn't look at you, but when she lifts the wooden spoon to taste, her lips curve in the smallest satisfied hum. That vibrates through the floor and into your spine. To your right, a boy of perhaps 9 winters has curled against the curve of the wall, knees drawn up, chin resting on them. His hair is the exact color of the thatch above, and every so often the fire pops and sends a spark drifting toward him. He watches its brief journey with the solemn attention of someone greeting an old friend. When the spark dies, he exhales through his nose, a soft, contented pfft that makes the fine hairs near your ear stir. He doesn't move to include you, yet the space between you feels already shared, like the air itself has decided you belong. Someone behind you shifts a woven basket. The dry hazel rods whisper against one another. Shh. Another basket answers from the shadows, a faint rustle of onions or dried apple rings settling. The smells layer themselves over the peat smoke, sharp green apple, the dusty sweetness of stored grain, the ghost of garlic that someone braided and hung high in the rafters last summer. Your stomach gives a small traitorous growl, so quiet only you and the rushes hear it, and the rushes forgive you instantly. An old woman near the door is carding wool. The soft click, click, click of the cards is the gentlest percussion, steady as rain, but warmer. Every few strokes she pauses, lifts the cloud of fiber to her lips, and blows. Phoo! A slow, deliberate breath that sends the wool floating and reseating itself in softer order. The sound is intimate, almost indecently tender, and you feel your own breath slow to match hers without meaning to. No one has asked your name. No one needs to. The firelight paints every face in shifting bronze and rose, and the shadows pool in the hollows of cheeks and collarbones like dark water. Eyes reflect the flames, tiny, dancing duplicates, and when those eyes slide across you, there is no question in them, only recognition. You are cold, and you are tired, and you are here, and that is enough, more than enough. A broad hand settles on the bench beside you, warm, calloused, smelling faintly of cattle and wood smoke, and simply rests there, palm up, an island of heat in the small gap between your thigh and the next body. The gesture is so utterly casual, it undoes you. Your own hand moves before your mind catches up, fingers brushing the edge of that offered palm, and the contact is brief, dry, perfect. The hand doesn't close, doesn't claim. It simply stays, steady as stone, and twice as kind. The rain on the roof has softened to a murmur, the way a mother's voice softens when the child is finally asleep. Inside every small sound, the scrape of blade, the tink of chain, the click of cards, the soft rustle of wool, braids itself into a single lullaby woven specifically for your exhausted bones. You are one of them now, not by declaration, but by gravity. The roundhouse has inhaled you, and it will not exhale until morning. Time loosens its grip the way a fist loosens when it finally remembers it's holding nothing at all. The fire has settled into a low, steady heartbeat, and the rain overhead has found its perfect cadence, a slow, syrupy shh that drips all the way down your spine and pools behind your knees. You feel yourself sinking deeper into the bench. The oak beneath you no longer wood, but something closer to memory, something that has held 1,000 tired bodies and learned exactly how to cradle yours. A carved wooden cup appears in front of you, passed from hand to hand without hurry. Fingers brush fingers, barely there, like moths testing a flame. When it reaches you, the cup is warm from other palms, the wood polished to butter by years of this same quiet ceremony. You close your hands around it, and the heat seeps straight into the small bones of your wrists, unlocking places you didn't know were locked. The cup is heavier than it looks. Inside, something dark and glossy trembles, catching the firelight in slow, viscous ripples. You lift it to your lips. The first scent that reaches you is honey, deep, sun-drenched, almost sleepy. Then the darker note of fermented barley, and beneath that, a whisper of wood smoke and blackberry skins. The liquid touches your tongue and spreads like warm silk, thick, sweet, with a slow burn that blooms at the back of your throat and slides all the way down to rest in the hollow beneath your ribs. It tastes like late summer, bottled and left to dream for a year. You swallow once, twice, and the warmth spreads outward in lazy rings, loosening your shoulders, your jaw, the tiny muscles around your eyes that have been clenched since morning. A soft, collective exhale moves through the roundhouse, as though everyone has been waiting for you to drink so they can finally relax too. Someone shifts closer. The wool of their sleeve brushes your forearm with the softness of lamb's ear, and the contact lingers, warm, unhurried. Another cup is being filled now. Glug, glug, glug. The sound thick and comforting, like pouring melted toffee. The iron pot suspended over the fire gives a low, contented gurgle, and the steam that rises smells of oats and honey and something faintly spiced, maybe bog myrtle or sweet gale. The herbs overhead sway in the slow updraft, releasing tiny puffs of scent every time the fire flares. Apple mint, meadowsweet, the ghost of lavender someone tucked between the rafters last midsummer. Each breath you take is layered, like tasting a cake that has been baked in the same oven for generations. Your eyelids sink a fraction lower. The cup in your hands is nearly empty now, but you keep it close, cradling the last mouthful against your lower lip, letting the warmth seep through the wood into your palms. Across the fire, the young woman lifts the iron pot from its hook. The chain sighs, shh, clink as it uncoils, and the pot settles on a flat stone with a soft, decisive thunk. She ladles something thick and golden into wooden bowls, the spoon scraping gently against the bottom, scrap, 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 in a rhythm that feels like a lullaby made of kitchen sounds. Steam curls up in slow, fragrant spirals, carrying the scent of butter and toasted oats and dark, sticky honey. When she passes the first bowl along, the person beside her inhales audibly, a soft, reverent mmm that makes your own mouth water again. The bowl reaches you, eventually, passed from lap to lap, each set of hands warming it a little more. It is heavier than the cup, almost too hot to hold, but the wood is thick and forgiving. Inside, the oats are soft and yielding, almost creamy, sweetened with honey so dark it's nearly black, studded with tiny, chewy fragments of dried apple and blackberry. The first taste spreads across your tongue like sunrise, slow and inevitable. You close your eyes without meaning to. And behind your lids, the firelight lingers in soft, red pulses. The rain has softened further, now barely more than a whisper, as though the storm itself has curled up beside the roundhouse and gone to sleep. Every small sound inside feels magnified and muffled at the same time. The soft clink of spoons against wood, the occasional wet pop of a peat brick collapsing into itself, the slow collective chewing that sounds almost like purring. Your own jaw moves lazily, the porridge thick enough that swallowing is a luxurious event, each mouthful coating your throat with warmth that pools lower and lower until your entire chest feels honey-lined. Someone begins to hum. No tune you know, just a low, wordless vibration that starts in one chest and is taken up by another, then another, until the whole roundhouse is gently buzzing. The sound is so soft it's more felt than heard, a resonance that settles behind your sternum and rocks you the way a boat rocks on a sleeping lake. Your spoon scrapes the bottom of the bowl, scrap, and the emptiness feels like a small, satisfied sigh. The cup and bowl are taken from your hands as gently as they were given. You don't see where they go. You only feel the absence of their weight and the way your fingers curl naturally into your lap, palms open, receiving nothing and everything at once. The bench beneath you has become part of your body. The wall behind your head has memorized the exact curve of your skull. The fire settles lower, its glow softer now, painting everything in slow, blooming amber. You are full, warm, and impossibly heavy. The night outside might as well have dissolved. There is only this, the slow drum of rain on thatch, the faint sweetness lingering on your tongue, and the gentle pressure of another shoulder against yours, and the knowledge, quiet, bone deep, that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. The fire has shrunk to a nest of ruby-hearted peat bricks, each one exhaling slow, fragrant breaths that rise in lazy columns toward the smoke hole far above. You watch the smoke twist and braid itself in the updraft, thick as cream, carrying flecks of gold where the flames kiss it goodbye. Every so often, a droplet sneaks down through the thatch and meets the rising heat. Tss, a tiny, intimate hiss that makes the whole column shiver and reform, softer than before. You lean back, and the wall receives you like it was waiting. The daub is cool at first touch, then warms instantly, as though the house recognizes your skin and decides to match its temperature to yours. You press your shoulders a little harder, and the surface yields, just enough to remind you it is alive. Beneath the smooth outer skin of clay and lime, you feel the woven lattice of hazel wands flexing, breathing with the wind outside. Creak, creak. The softest rocking, like being held in the ribs of some enormous, gentle creature. Your fingertips drift along the wall beside the bench. The daub has been stroked so many times by so many palms that it gleams faintly, almost moist in the firelight. In places, the clay is worn thin enough to reveal the weave beneath, slender hazel rods no thicker than your thumb, bent and interlaced with the patience of people who measured time in seasons instead of minutes. You trace one rod with a fingernail. It is springy, alive, humming faintly under your touch, like a plucked string that has forgotten it was ever a tree. Someone has mixed cow dung and straw into the inner layer of daub. You smell it faintly, warm and honest, the scent of summer pastures dried and sealed into the walls. It is not unpleasant. It is the smell of safety, of animals kept close, of winter kept out. You press your palm flat and feel the faint texture of chopped straw beneath the smooth clay. Tiny ridges that catch your skin the way very old paper catches a fingertip. The wall drinks the heat of your hand and gives back a deeper warmth, older than you, older than anyone here. Higher up, where the wall curves inward to meet the roof, the hazel lattice grows denser, a basket turned inside out. Bundles of reeds and bracken are stuffed between the wands for extra insulation. When the fire flares, you can see them glowing like golden fleece through the gaps. Every breath of wind outside makes the whole structure sigh. Shh. Then settle again, tighter, warmer. You realize the house is adjusting itself around you the way a cat adjusts around a patch of sunlight. Your gaze drifts upward. The roof is a dark, fragrant cave of thatch, layer upon layer of water reed and wheat straw, each one laid with the care of a lover's hair. It is so thick, 2, maybe 3 feet deep, that the rain has become a memory rather than a sound. Only the occasional stray droplet finds its way along a single straw and falls, plink, into the shallow clay bowl someone placed on a rafter for exactly that reason. The bowl is almost full now. The water inside trembles with every heartbeat of the house. Near the smoke hole, the thatch is blackened and glossy from years of gentle smoking, yet it never burns. The smoke knows its path. It rises, circles the central opening once or twice like it's reluctant to leave, then slips out into the night in a slow, silvery ribbon. Cool air drifts down in exchange, just enough to keep the edges of the heat soft. You can taste it on the back of your tongue. Wet night air laced with peat and distant heather, sliding down to mingle with the honey still pooled in your stomach. You shift your weight, and the bench answers with a low, contented creak. The sound travels through the oak, through the earth floor, into the walls themselves, and the whole roundhouse seems to exhale with you. A child's bare foot brushes your ankle, warm, slightly sticky from honeyed oats, and stays there, trusting. The contact is so casual it undoes something behind your ribs. You feel the wall at your back flex again, almost imperceptibly, as though the house is leaning in to listen. The peat settles lower, glowing darker, and the shadows lengthen and soften until the edges of everything blur. You are inside a lung, a heart, a seed. The walls hold the day's chill at bay with the same patience they once held wolves, Romans, winter itself. Nothing can reach you here that is not already softened by fire and time and shared breath. Your eyelids sink another fraction. The last thing you notice before the heaviness wins is the faint, rhythmic creaking of the hazel wands. Creak, 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 like a cradle made of an entire hill, rocking you gently, endlessly, into the warm dark. The fire has become a nest of quiet embers, pulsing slow and red like the heart of something ancient that refuses to die tonight. Above it, the smoke drifts upward in a single languid braid, thick enough to carry sound the way water carries moonlight. And sound there is, soft, almost secret, because the children have come down from the rafters. You feel them before you see them, a ripple in the warm air, the faintest brush of bare feet on rushes, the rustle of a small body sliding along a roof beam high overhead. They move like smoke themselves, these children of smoke and story. Bellies full of honeyed oats, eyes wide and shining with the promise of tales. One by one they descend, using the sloping inner wall as a ladder, tiny toes finding holds in the woven hazel the way birds find twigs. The thatch whispers as they pass, shh, 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 like dry grass stroking skin. A girl no older than 7 settles cross-legged directly in front of you, so close you can smell the warm milk scent of her scalp. Her hair is a wild halo of firelit gold, and when she tilts her head, the strands catch the glow and hold it, reluctant to let go. She does not speak. None of them do. Instead, she simply looks at the elder across the fire, an old man whose beard is the color of storm clouds lit from within, and lifts both hands, palms up, in the smallest, most patient question. The old man's eyes crease. He sets aside the bone he was carving. It makes a soft clack against the bench, a sound like 2 pebbles greeting each other. Then he lifts one gnarled hand and begins. No words, just the slow uncurling of fingers, the twist of a wrist, the subtle tilt of his head. Shadows leap across the curved walls, enormous and alive. A stag with antlers that scrape the thatch, a salmon leaping so high its tail brushes the smoke hole, a woman with hair of flame who walks across water without sinking. Each gesture is unhurried, deliberate, the way honey pours on a cold morning. The children lean forward as one organism. You feel the movement in your own chest, a soft inward pull, like breath held just a moment too long. A boy to your left rests his chin on his drawn-up knees. Every time the shadow stag lowers its head to drink, his shoulders rise and fall in perfect mimicry. Another child, barely more than a toddler, has curled against your side without asking. Her warmth seeps through your wool like sunlight through leaves, and her hair tickles your neck with every slow breath. In, out, steady as tide. The old man's hands slow. The stag dissolves into a hawk, wings spreading so wide they eclipse half the roundhouse. A girl behind you exhales a tiny "oh" that is barely more than shaped air, yet it fills the entire space. The sound lingers, soft and round, until the thatch itself seems to hold it like a soap bubble. You feel your own lips part, though no sound comes. Your eyes are wide, heavy-lidded, drinking in the shadows the way your mouth drank honey earlier. Another elder joins, this one a woman whose braids are thick as ship's ropes. She lifts a small skin drum from her lap and rests it against her thigh. Instead of striking, she simply presses her palm to the taut hide and begins to circle. Slow, slower, slowest. Thrum, thrum. The sound is so low it lives in your bones rather than your ears. A heartbeat borrowed from the earth itself. The shadow hawk folds its wings and becomes a boat, long and low, gliding across an unseen river of night. The children sway with it, a gentle tide of small bodies. You sway too. The bench beneath you has vanished. There is only warmth and drum and shadow. The toddler's head grows heavier against your ribs. Her breath has deepened into the soft whistling sigh of almost sleep. Someone else's hand finds yours in the dark, child or adult, you no longer care, and simply holds, thumb resting in the hollow of your palm like a bird settling into a nest. The drum slows further, until each thrum is separated by whole centuries of quiet. The shadows soften, blur, melt back into ordinary darkness. The old man's hands come to rest in his lap, fingers loosely pearled, and the silence that follows is richer than any story. It is the silence of bellies full, of fires banked, of a night that has agreed to be gentle. One by one the children curl where they are. Some stretch out on the rushes like small cats, limbs loose, mouths slightly open. Others lean against knees or bellies or the curved wall. The girl who sat in front of you has folded forward until her forehead rests on her own crossed ankles. Her breathing is a soft, rhythmic flutter against the rushes. The toddler in your arms has gone entirely limp, a warm, trusting weight that rises and falls with your own breath. The drum gives one final, almost apologetic thrum, then stills. The fire answers with a soft collapse of ash, shh, and settles into glowing sleep. Overhead, the smoke hole has become a pale coin of stars, but no one looks up. Eyes are closing all around you, gentle as petals. Someone shifts a blanket, wool so thick it sighs as it moves, and drapes it across 3 bodies at once, including yours. The weight is perfect, the smell of lanolin and wood smoke and child skin wrapping you like a second skin. You are in the middle of a nest now, limbs and breaths and heartbeats all tangled together. The last thing you feel is a small hand sliding into yours, fingers sticky with honey, curling tight as if to say, "Stay, stay, stay." Then the dark folds over you, soft as thistledown, and you let it. You drift in that half place between waking and sleeping, where the drum still echoes faintly in your teeth, and the children's warmth has melted into your own. The fire is now only a small, watchful eye of crimson, yet the roundhouse is brighter than it should be, because someone has fed the loom in the corner a new kind of light. It stands against the curve of the wall like it grew there, a tall, upright loom of pale ash wood, its frame worn satin smooth by generations of shoulders leaning in. The warp is stretched tight, a pale waterfall of undyed wool that glows almost silver in the ember light, and the woman working it moves so slowly she might be dreaming the cloth into being. She sits on a low stool, back straight, feet bare on the cool earth. Her hands are large, capable, scarred faintly along the thumbs from years of pulling warps tight. You hear the softest sounds, the muted clack, clack of the heddle rod as she lifts and lowers the shed, the whisper of the shuttle sliding through, sh-thump, sh-thump, like a very slow heartbeat wrapped in wool. Each pass of the shuttle leaves a new line of color, deep heather purple, the green of wet moss after rain, the stormy gray blue of a winter sea. The colors do not shout, they breathe. You watch her fingers, they never hurry. When she reaches the end of a row, she beats the weft upward with a wooden sword. Tap, tap, tap. Gentle as closing a book you don't want to finish. The sound is intimate, almost indecently tender, like fingertips brushing the inside of your wrist. Each tap settles the threads closer, tighter, until the cloth begins to feel inevitable, as though the cloak was always meant to exist and she is only helping it remember. The wool itself smells alive, lanolin still clinging to the fibers, faint sheep and hillside and summer rain. Every time she leans forward, the scent drifts across the small space between you, warm and sun-baked, even though the night outside is cold. You can almost taste it on the back of your tongue, rich, waxy, comforting. A loose strand escapes the selvage, and she catches it without looking, twisting it around her finger once, twice, tucking it back into the weave so neatly it vanishes. Her hands know this dance better than breathing. You find yourself matching your own breath to her rhythm. Inhale on the shuttle's glide. Exhale on the soft tap of the sword. In, sh-thump. Out, tap tap. In, sh-thump. Until your lungs and the loom are the same slow creature. The pattern growing under her hands is not random. You begin to see it. Subtle spirals that curl like fern fronds, tiny stepped diamonds that might be hills seen from far above, a border of running horses so delicate they seem ready to leap off the cloth and vanish into the smoke. The heather purple darkens into midnight at the edges, then lightens again into the pale lilac of dawn over moorland. It hurts a little how beautiful it is, the way very quiet things sometimes hurt. A child sighs in sleep and rolls closer. The movement sends a faint puff of warm air across your cheek. The woman at the loom glances over, just a flicker of dark eyes, and the corner of her mouth lifts. Not a smile exactly, but the promise of one held in reserve for later. She lifts the half-finished cloak a little, letting the firelight move through it. The weave is so fine it glows, and for a moment you see the silhouette of her hand behind the cloth, warm and alive and fleeting. She returns to her rhythm. Clack, sh-thump, tap-tap, clack, sh-thump, tap-tap. The sound folds itself around the soft breathing of sleeping children, around the occasional pop of a settling ember, around the slow drip of rain finding its one allowed path down a straw. Everything is measured in the same unhurried heartbeat. Your eyelids have grown impossibly heavy. The cloak on the loom blurs at the edges, colors bleeding gently into one another the way dreams bleed into waking. You feel the weave entering you somehow, thread by thread, the weight it will have when it is finished, the way it will settle across shoulders and keep out wind that has not yet been born. The last thing you hear before the darkness takes you completely is the soft snip of small bronze scissors cutting the weft free, a sound as final and gentle as a kiss pressed to a forehead. The loom quiets. The woman folds her hands in her lap and simply sits, listening to the roundhouse breathe. And you breathe with it, slow, deep, safe, inside the cloth of the night. The loom has gone still, and with it the last small, deliberate sounds of making. What remains is the deeper voice of the roundhouse itself, the long, slow inhale and exhale of living walls, the soft creak of hazel wands rocking in their sleep, the muted drum of rain that has decided to stay the night. And beneath all of that, something new, a low, resonant calling from just beyond the walls. Murm. A cow somewhere in the darkness speaks its slow, rolling note into the wet night. Another answers, deeper, farther off, the sound rolling across the hill like distant thunder wrapped in velvet. The cattle have been brought close tonight, penned in a low ring of woven hurdles only a few paces from the roundhouse door. You can feel their nearness in the floor, a faint tremor that travels through packed earth and rushes and the soles of your feet, the patient shifting of great weight, the soft thud of a hoof settling, the slow tidal breathing of beasts that know the storm cannot touch them here. Inside, the air thickens with their presence. Warm cattle smell drifts through the chinks in the daub, rich, sun-baked, faintly sweet with chewed grass and milt. It mingles with the peat smoke until you are breathing a single ancient perfume, summer pastures sealed inside winter walls. Someone shifts beside you. A rough wool blanket is tugged higher over a child's shoulder, and the movement releases another wave of that smell, lanolin, warm skin, milk still on the breath. The fire is almost gone now, only a nest of dark red embers that pulse like slow heartbeats. When a peat brick collapses, the soft shff travels outward in a circle of warmth you feel on your shins, your cheeks, the tips of your ears. Outside, the wind presses against the thatch, and the walls answer with a low, reassuring groan, creaking tighter, refusing to yield. You can almost hear the hazel wands knitting themselves closer, the way ribs draw together around lungs when the air turns cold. Another cow lows, closer this time, the sound vibrating through the wall at your back. You feel it in your spine. Mmm. A long, slow wave that loosens every knot you still carried. The roundhouse is a drum, and the herd is its heartbeat. Between one breath and the next, you understand the thinness of the line. Here inside, fire and wool and human warmth. There outside, rain and wind and the patient, watchful dark. Only a handspan of woven hazel and daub separates the two. Yet the difference is absolute, like the difference between womb and world. A child murmurs in sleep, something soft and wordless, and is answered by the slow rustle of rushes as someone's arm curves protectively around small shoulders. The gesture is unconscious, inevitable. You feel your own arm copied without thinking, settling over the warm weight curled against your side. The child's hair smells of wood smoke and honey and the faint, clean scent of crushed grass. Under your palm, a tiny heartbeat flutters, quick as a bird, then slows to match the deeper rhythm of the herd outside. The rain finds a new voice now, lighter, almost playful, tip, 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 on the thatch, as though it has grown tired of being fierce and only wants to dance. Each droplet lands and is swallowed instantly by the thick straw, leaving no trace except the softest percussion, like fingertips drumming on a quilt. Inside, the darkness is complete and perfect, the kind of dark that has weight and warmth and smells faintly of milk. You breathe in, slow, deliberate, tasting cattle and peat and wool and safety. You breathe out, and the roundhouse breathes with you, walls flexing almost imperceptibly, embers glowing a fraction brighter, as though feeding on the carbon dioxide of your relief. Another low from the herd, softer this time, almost a lullaby. Mm. The sound settles in your sternum and stays there, a warm stone. There is no longer any difference between the heat of bodies inside and the heat of bodies outside. You are all one creature tonight. Human, cattle, house, storm, held together by woven walls and shared breath. The night presses close, curious, but cannot enter. It can only listen at the door like a well-mannered guest who knows it will not be invited in. Your eyelids are not merely heavy, they have become part of the blanket, part of the wall, part of the slow tidal breathing that surrounds you. The last thing you feel is the faint tremor of a cow shifting its weight somewhere in the dark, a gentle thud that travels through earth and hazel and daub and rushes, and finally into the small bones of your inner ear. Stay, stay, stay. The night has reached its deepest, softest hour. The embers have folded in on themselves until only a small ruby mound remains, breathing so slowly it could almost be mistaken for stillness. The rain has thinned to a memory of itself, a faint, silvery scratching on the thatch, like a mouse wearing silk slippers. Inside, every breath is long and even. The roundhouse has become one slow lung filled with sleeping children, cattle, and smoke. Then it happens, a tiny metallic clink against the rushes, bright and wrong in all this softness. A sound so small it should have been swallowed, yet it slices straight through the dark and lands behind your eyes. You feel the room notice it at the same instant you do. A collective inhale, barely there, like the hush before a deer decides to bolt. The old woman near the door sits up first. The blanket slides from her shoulders with the quietest sigh of wool on wool. She does not speak, only tilts her head, listening. Another clink, softer, farther away, as whatever it was rolls once and settles. The fire chooses that moment to collapse a final peat brick. Shuff! A puff of warm air rolls across the floor and stirs the rushes, carrying the faint, panicked scent of cold metal. You know what it is before anyone moves. You feel it in the sudden cool spot on your chest where something had rested all evening. A small, heavy brooch of twisted silver, lent to you hours ago by the woman with the storm-colored braids. A gift for the stranger, a welcome, a promise. It must have worked loose while you slept, slipped between cloak and skin, and now lies somewhere in the dark straw, lost. A ripple of quiet alarm moves through the roundhouse. It is not loud. Nothing here is ever loud. But you feel it in the way the toddler against your ribs stiffens, in the way the old carver's hand tightens on his knee, in the soft intake of breath from the woman who was weaving the cloak. The air itself seems to cool by a single degree, as though the night outside has found one tiny crack and slipped a finger through. The weaver rises first. Her bare feet make no sound on the rushes, yet every sleeper registers her passing the way water registers a dropped pebble. She kneels near the hearth, palms hovering just above the floor, feeling for the small, cold thing that does not belong. Others follow, slow, reluctant to disturb the children, yet unable to stay still. The movement is gentle, almost ceremonial, but beneath it runs a current of real worry. Silver is rare, work of many hands, a piece of someone's name and standing. To lose it on a night when a stranger was welcomed would be a wound deeper than words. You try to sit up, but the weight of sleeping limbs pins you. Guilt settles cold in your stomach, heavier than any blanket. The brooch was warm from your skin when it was pinned to you. Now it is somewhere on the cold floor, growing colder. You feel the loss like a small, sharp tooth against your heart. The old woman lights a twist of rush with the last ember. It catches with a soft pop and flares, a fragile coin of gold in the vast dark. She cups it carefully, shielding the flame with her body, and the light slides across faces, quiet, determined, unafraid, but not unconcerned. Shadows leap huge and wavering across the curved walls, turning every kneeling figure into a giant searching for a star that fell to earth. The rain, as though sensing the shift, gathers itself and returns, a sudden soft rush against the thatch. Shh! Louder now, almost scolding. A droplet finds the smoke hole and falls. Plink! Straight into the clay bowl, a bright, mocking note. The night presses closer, curious, tasting the small fracture in the warmth. Someone's hand brushes your ankle, steady, reassuring. It is the boy with thatch-colored hair, awake now, eyes enormous in the rushlight. He does not smile, only squeezes once. We will find it. The gesture is so certain it almost hurts. The search widens. Fingers sweep the rushes in slow, patient arcs. Swish, swish, swish. The sound soft as brushing hair. Each pass stirs the dried herbs and releases little ghosts of scent. Meadowsweet, apple mint, the faint sweetness of last summer's sunshine. The scents rise and mingle with peat smoke and warm milk and the sharper edge of worry, creating something strangely beautiful, like rain on hot iron. The rushlight gutters lower. Shadows thicken again, pressing in from the walls. The cold spot on your chest aches now, a small, perfect circle of absence. And still, no one speaks. Only the rain, the soft swish of searching hands, and the low, steady breathing of cattle beyond the walls, who, sensing the unease, have fallen quiet. The single rushlight is almost gone. It trembles in the old woman's cupped hands, a frail heartbeat of gold that paints the underside of her wrist and then retreats, leaving the rest of the roundhouse to the dark. The flame is down to a fingernail of green-white now, yet no one moves to light another. Waste is unthinkable, and besides, the search has become something quieter than sight. It is touch, it is breath, it is the slow sweeping of palms across the cool, fragrant rushes. Swish, swish, swish. The sound is everywhere at once, a soft tide moving outward from the hearth. Fingers glide, pause, glide again, asking the floor the same gentle question over and over. The rushes answer with their dry, papery whisper, releasing tiny clouds of stored summer each time they are disturbed. You smell crushed mint, warm clover, the ghost of honey someone spilled last Lugnasad and never quite cleaned away. The scents rise and mingle with the sharper note of worry, turning the air thick and sweet and almost edible. You are on your knees now, the sleeping child carefully shifted to the bench behind you. The packed earth beneath the rushes is cool against your shins, a steady reminder that the night is still out there, waiting. Your own hands move without thought, sweeping in slow half-moons, fingertips barely grazing the surface. Each pass is a prayer you do not know the words for. The rushes tickle your wrists, soft as feathers, then part and close again behind your hands like water. The rain has settled into a steady, patient drumming, no longer playful. It lashes the thatch in long, deliberate strokes. Shwamp, shwamp, as though trying to hush the roundhouse back to sleep. Every so often a gust finds a tiny gap and sighs through, cool and wet, lifting strands of hair from your forehead before the walls breathe warmth back over your skin. Someone to your left exhales, a soft, frustrated puff that stirs the rushes. Another answers with the faintest click of tongue against teeth. Chuck. A sound so small it could break your heart. The rushlight gutters once, twice, then steadies, throwing long, wavering shadows that crawl up the walls like searching fingers themselves. The loom in the corner looms huge and black, its half-finished cloak hanging like a storm cloud frozen mid-billow. You sweep farther, past the edge of the bench, into the cooler pocket near the door where the floor is slightly damp from earlier drips. Your fingertips brush something hard and smooth, your breath catches, but it is only a knuckle bone someone uses as a toy, cool and rounded and innocent. You set it gently aside and keep moving. The toddler has woken fully now, and is kneeling beside the boy with thatch-colored hair. They work together, four small hands moving in perfect unison, sweeping, pausing, sweeping again. Every few strokes the boy leans over and presses his cheek to the rushes, listening for the telltale ring of metal on metal that never comes. His hair glows like pale fire each time the dying rushlight finds it. Your palm skims something cold. For one suspended heartbeat you think, yes, but it is only a shard of pottery, smooth and curved, smelling faintly of last week's barley broth. You close your fingers around it anyway, as though warmth from your skin might turn it into silver by wishing. It does not. You set it down with the knuckle bone, a tiny altar of almosts. The rushlight gives one final apologetic pop and shrinks to a red thread. Darkness folds back in, heavier than before. For a moment there is only the rain and the soft collective breathing of searchers who refuse to give up. Then someone strikes a spark, tink tink tink, against flint, and a fresh twist of rush catches with a gentle sigh. The new flame is small, but it is enough. Faces reappear now, softer, eyes ringed with tiredness, yet bright with stubborn hope. The search tightens. People move closer to the center again, retracing ground already covered, because silver is small and the floor is forgiving. Hands overlap, brush, forgive. A woman's braid trails across your wrist like cool silk. Someone's knee nudges yours and stays there, a quiet, "We are still together." The rain eases, as though listening. The thatch drips its steady plink, plink, into the bowl overhead. The cattle low once, low and mournful, a long ruling note that vibrates through the walls and into your chest. You feel it in your teeth, in the soles of your feet, in the hollow where the brooch used to rest. Your hands sweep once more, slower than slow, asking the rushes one last, gentle question. The new rushlight is steady now, a small, brave sun cupped in the old woman's palms. It paints everything in honey and rose, the curve of a sleeping child's cheek, the silver threads in the carver's beard, the slow rise and fall of blankets over dreaming bodies. The rain has softened again, almost apologetic, tapping the thatch with the lightest possible fingers, tap, 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 like someone asking to be forgiven. You are still on your knees, palms raw from whispering over rushes when it happens. A tiny hand, no bigger than a wren, slides out from under the edge of the bench beside you. The boy with thatch-colored hair has lain flat on his belly, cheek pressed to the floor, one arm stretched into the narrow gap where bench meets wall. His fingers close around something cold and bright. You hear it before you see it, the faintest, purest ting as the silver brooch shifts against a pebble. Time stops. The boy does not shout. He simply draws his arm back, slow as drawing breath, and opens his fist in the rushlight. There it lies, the twisted silver brooch, shaped like a sleeping hound, its eye a single bead of amber no larger than a tear. A collective exhale moves through the roundhouse, so soft it could be the building itself sighing in relief. The sound is wet with held-back tears no one will admit to tomorrow. The fire answers before anyone can. A forgotten pocket of resin in the last log wakes and flares. Paka! A sudden bloom of gold that floods the walls and turns every face into something luminous. Warmth rolls out in a wave, thick with pine and peat and the sudden fierce sweetness of things made right again. Someone laughs once, a small broken sound that turns into a sob and then into the softest hum of gratitude. The weaver is there in an instant. She kneels, cups the boy's dirty cheeks between her palms, and presses her forehead to his. No words, only the slow transfer of warmth, of pride, of love too large for language. The boy's eyes shine wet and enormous. He tries to speak and manages only a trembling smile that shakes loose one perfect tear. The brooches passed from hand to hand, each person holding it for the length of a heartbeat, warming it, claiming back the luck it carries. When it reaches you, the metal is no longer cold. It is alive with the heat of every palm that rescued it. The twisted silver is smooth, almost soft, the hound's back arched in eternal sleep. You close your fingers around it and feel the small weight settle exactly where it belongs, as though it never left. The old woman lifts the rushlight higher. Shadows retreat, curling back up the walls like satisfied cats. Someone begins to hum, low, wordless, the same three notes the drum carried earlier, and others join until the roundhouse is filled with a vibration so gentle it feels like being held inside a bell made of honey. The toddler, now fully awake, crawls into your lap and burrows, sticky fingers finding yours, squeezing once, as if to say, "See, everything is all right now." The brooch is pinned back onto your cloak by the weaver herself. Her fingers linger at your collarbone, pressing the metal home with the same tenderness she used on the loom. The clasp clicks shut, tiny, perfect, final, and the small weight rests against your skin again, warmer than body heat, warmer than fire. Relief tastes like warm ale and salt, and the faint iron of unshed tears. Outside the cattle low once more, softer this time, a rolling note of approval that travels through the walls and settles in your bones. The rain has become the gentlest mist, barely more than a promise. Droplets slide down the thatch and fall, plink, plink, into the bowl overhead, counting the last seconds of worry. The rushlight is allowed to die. Darkness returns, but it is different now. Round, full, safe. Blankets are tugged higher, limbs rearranged into comfortable knots. Someone's hand finds yours in the dark and squeezes once. Thank you, or you're welcome, or simply, we are still here. The fire settles into a steady glow, embers pulsing like a heart that has remembered how to be happy. You sink back against the wall, the brooch a small warm star over your heart. The toddler's breathing has already slowed again, a tiny whistle on each exhale. The roundhouse exhales with you, walls flexing once, twice, then stilling into perfect contentment. Everything is where it should be. Everything is warm. Everything is home. The night has done its quiet mending. The brooch rests warm and certain against your skin, its little silver hound curled as though it never dreamed of wandering. The fire is only a cradle of dark red embers now, yet the roundhouse feels brighter than before, lit from the inside by something gentler than flame. Relief has weight. You feel it settle over every shoulder, every small sleeping body, like the softest possible snowfall. Hands move in the half-dark, slow and unhurried. Someone lifts the toddler from your lap, her limbs floppy, breath sweet with oats and milk, and tucks her against an older sibling who sighs and makes room without waking. A blanket of thick, undyed wool is drawn from a chest near the door. It sighs as it unfolds, heavy with lanolin and wood smoke, and the memory of many winters. It is passed along the circle, draped across knees and shoulders until it reaches you. The weaver kneels again. Her fingers find the clasp of your cloak, unfasten it with the same care she used to pin the brooch home. The cloak slides from your shoulders. Cool air kisses your neck for only a heartbeat before the new blanket settles in its place. It is heavier, warmer, smelling of sheep and sun and the faint iron of the loom weights that once held it taut. She smooths it across your chest, once, twice, the gesture slow enough to feel like a promise. Then she does something that stops your breath. From beneath her apron, she draws a narrow torque, two thick ropes of gold twisted together, the ends hammered into tiny, perfect horse heads no longer than your thumbnail. The metal catches what little light remains and holds it, glowing like captured dawn. She leans close. Her hair brushes your cheek, smelling of heather and smoke and rain. The torque opens with a soft click, circles your neck, and closes again. The weight is surprising, not heavy, but present. Cool at first, then warming instantly against the hollow of your throat. Her palm rests over it for a moment, pressing the gold to your pulse. You feel the steady thump-thump beneath the metal, and beneath your pulse, her own heartbeat answering back. When she draws away, her eyes shine wet in the ember glow, but her mouth curves in something too deep for smiling. No one else moves to look. This is private, yet shared. A thank you that belongs to every hand that swept the rushes tonight, every small back that bent in the dark. The torque settles against your skin like it was forged for this exact curve of neck, this exact stranger who became family between one heartbeat and the next. A broad hand settles on your shoulder. The carver, beard the color of rowan berries, squeezes once and is gone. Another hand brushes your hair back from your forehead. The boy with thatch-colored hair, a fleeting, sticky touch of honey and gratitude. The old woman near the door lifts her palm in the smallest blessing, fingers trembling just enough to remind you how old her bones are and how fiercely they still love. The blanket has become part of you. The torque has become part of you. The roundhouse breathes around you, slow and full and utterly content. Somewhere a child makes a small, dreaming sound, "Mph," turns over, and is gathered closer by unseen arms. The rain has stopped entirely. The sudden hush is so complete you can hear the embers cooling, tick, 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 like the softest clock winding down. You sink. The bench receives you. The wall cradles you. The blanket folds you into itself. Your eyelids are no longer yours to command. They drift shut on their own, and behind them the glow of the torque lingers in soft gold pulses. The last thing you feel is the gentle pressure of many bodies leaning in, not crowding, simply resting, the way trees rest against one another in an ancient forest. Sleep rises like warm water, slow and inevitable. You let it take you, brooch over your heart, torque at your throat, blanket of wool and belonging around your shoulders. The roundhouse rocks you once, twice, the way a mother rocks a cradle that happens to be the entire world. And you are gone. A thin blade of pale light slips through the smoke hole and falls across your cheek like cool water. You feel it before you open your eyes, the way a sleeper feels dawn without needing to see it. The roundhouse is breathing differently now, slower, deeper, as though the night has filled its lungs completely and is only now, reluctantly, letting go. You are curled on your side, cheek against the rushes that still smell faintly of meadowsweet and child. The thick blanket has slipped to your waist. The torque rests warm and heavy at the base of your throat, rising and falling with each breath. The brooch is a small, steady weight over your heart, the silver hound awake now, as if it too sensed morning. All around you, the others are stirring in the gentlest possible way. A knee shifts, a shoulder settles, someone exhales through their nose in a long, luxurious sigh that ends in the tiniest whistle. The toddler has migrated in the night and now lies half across your legs, one sticky hand curled around a strand of your hair. Her breath is warm against your wrist. In, out, steady as tide. The fire is only a palmful of gray ash, yet the air is still soft with its memory. Someone has already opened the door a handspan. Cool, wet dawn air drifts in, carrying the clean scent of soaked grass and distant heather. It meets the lingering warmth of peat and wool and milk, and the two mingle like old friends who have agreed to part kindly. You sit up slowly. The torque shifts against your collarbones, a quiet reminder that last night was real. The weaver is already at the loom again, but she is only rolling the finished cloak, folding it with the reverence of someone folding a flag after a long war. When she sees you move, she pauses, meets your eyes, and lifts two fingers to her lips, then to her heart. The gesture is small, final, perfect. One by one, the others wake fully. No one speaks. There is no need. The boy with thatch-colored hair crawls over, presses his forehead to yours for the length of a single breath, then slips outside. The old carver stands, stretches until his spine cracks like green wood, and rests a broad hand on your shoulder as he passes. The weight lingers after he is gone. The children are lifted, sleepy and limp, into waiting arms. Blankets are folded, bowls stacked, the roundhouse quietly putting itself away the way a bird tucks feathers after flight. You rise, legs tingling, and the rushes release your shape with a soft, papery sigh. Someone hands you your cloak, clean now, mysteriously dry, and helps you settle it over the torque. The silver brooch catches the first true ray of sunlight and throws it back as warm gold. Outside, the village is a watercolor of mist and pale light. Roundhouses stand quiet, their thatch dark and wet, each roof exhaling a final curl of smoke that rises, hesitates, and dissolves. The cattle have been turned out already. You hear their slow bells somewhere down the hill, moving away like a lazy heartbeat. The weaver walks you to the edge of the settlement. No one else follows. At the last hurdle, she stops, rests both hands on your shoulders, and leans her forehead to yours. You feel her breath, warm and smelling faintly of honey and oats, and then she steps back. The torque gleams once against your skin, bright as a promise kept. She lifts one hand in farewell, palm forward, fingers loose, then turns and walks back toward the glowing doorways. The mist folds around her, soft as wool, until there is only the faint creak of the loom starting again, and then even that is gone. You stand alone on the sheep track. The sun lifts another inch, spilling pale gold across the wet grass. The torque is warm, the brooch is warm, The memory of every hand that touched you last night is warm. The roundhouses behind you begin to fade, not dramatically, not suddenly, simply thinning, softening, the way dreams thin when you try to carry them into morning. You take one step down the track, then another. The mist closes gently behind you. The bells of the cattle grow fainter. The scent of peat and milk and child lingers in your cloak like a secret you are allowed to keep. By the time you reach the bottom of the hill, there is only the quiet path, the pale sun, and the small, steady weight of gold and silver against your skin. You are home again, though you never truly left. The last curl of smoke rises from a roof you can no longer see, carrying with it the faint, sweet echo of a lullaby made of rain and fire and many quiet hands. You feel it brush your cheek, cool and gentle, then drift away into the wide morning. Your shoulders loosen all the way down to your heels. The day ahead can wait, for now there is only this soft, lingering warmth, the gentle weight of gifts you did not earn and will never forget, and the slow, steady rhythm of your own heart learning a new way to beat. Let the path carry you. Let the sun warm the torque until it feels like part of your pulse. Let the memory settle in your bones like peat in deep earth, something to burn slowly on the coldest nights to come. You are heavier with belonging, lighter with peace, and perfectly, perfectly tired. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Again, softer now, softer still, until the world is only the hush of grass beneath your feet and the quiet gold at your throat. Sleep is waiting just there, behind your eyes. Let it take you. Sweet dreams, my friend. Sweet, sweet dreams. End of story. Sweet dreams.